Hello, hello, hello. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Thank you all for watching. I think we got a small audience right now, but hopefully it'll grow. Lots of fun happening in world of Tesla, the world of Elon. First of all, before we dive into all the events that have been happening that have been going crazy lately, we're on the precipice. Well, I love that word precipice. We're on the verge of seeing robotaxis running live somewhere this month. A lot of rumors about the more affordable vehicles coming soon. I just saw somebody say that there's a 6-passenger Model Y coming, and I asked what the source was for that. And I think that's a lot of rumors. I don't know how much is real. I think it's very likely. I mean, there's a report that Tesla is going to start the Robotaxi network on June 12th. I have no idea if that's true. I've seen rumors that Tesla hasn't gotten the proper permits yet. I'm pretty sure that's false. So, there's a lot of good things happening. And of course, what happens? We get the Trump chaos, the Elon Trump chaos that just blew everything up. And before I dive into Elon Trump chaos, I just want to mention there's a post from Milan Kovacs, who was the head of or one of the leaders of the Optimus team, that he is leaving Tesla to attend to personal matters in his home country or country where his family lives, which is probably in Eastern Europe. He was with Tesla for 9 years. You can look him up on X. He has a profile. He did a long post. He was with Tesla for 9 years. He said some very positive things about Tesla, very positive things about Elon. You can be guaranteed that the media will spin this, as they always do, as, oh no, Tesla's in trouble. One of their 100,000 plus employees is leaving the company, so the company will clearly fail. That's, by the way, if you can comment, please just let me know you can hear me. I think my microphone is working. I can see my microphone is working, but just, say hello. Please say hello. Yeah, look, Tesla has a big team. The Robotaxi team, the FSD team, the Autopilot team, the AI team, the Dojo team, the Optimus team. There's a ton of great people. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Maka. There's a ton of talented people at Tesla, and thank you, Shane. Thank you, Francisco. So there's a ton of people at Tesla, and we've seen this. If you followed Tesla for a long time, oh, Jerome Guillen left the company. Oh, Drew Baglino left the company. Oh, JB Straubel left. It's like whenever anybody leaves the company, it's like, oh no, Tesla's done. Well, okay, we've seen this enough times, and the media makes a big thing. A friend of mine who's a Tesla hater, it's like, oh, what do you think about Milan leaving the company? I'm like, how many times have we done this before? This is just silly. And another quick shot at the media. There were a bunch of stories like, oh, Tesla sales were down in Portugal in March. Portugal? Denmark or something like that. And then the media is covering this. The media is like, oh no, Tesla's in trouble because, their sales are down in Portugal and sales are down here and sales are down there. And like, okay, well, Australia had a banger of a month and they didn't report it. Thailand was up like 1,000%, which is a little misleading because Tesla really only started selling in volume in Q4 of 2020. I arrived in Thailand in December of 2023, and they weren't really selling a lot of Teslas in 2023. They started selling Teslas in early 2024. So Q1 2025 versus Q1 2024, well, not really that big of a deal. But it is true. I am seeing a lot of Teslas. I went to pick up sorry. I don't know if people know this. I bought a new Model Y. I don't know if I covered that in the last one I did. We flew up to Bangkok, picked up a new Model Y, drove it down to Krabi where we're living. Fantastic. And we've been driving it. And I will say this, the new Model Y is fantastic. Now, let's background here. I own a Model X Plaid. I drove 44,000 miles in a Model X Plaid. I have a Model 3 from 2018, but I have a 2021 or 2022 Model X Plaid that I put 44,000 miles on. It's not as fast as the Model X Plaid. It's quieter inside. I don't know if the ride quality is necessarily better because the Model X, the 2022, the refreshed Model X has the air suspension, but the ride is really smooth. Now, let's be fair. For the last year or so, the only car I've driven has been with one exception. We did drive a Model 3 briefly. for about a week. We rented a Model 3. Thank you, Ken. I've been driving a Honda City, a 2015 Honda City, which is like, imagine a Honda Civic, but smaller and 10 years old. So based on my driving a Honda City, like it's like driving a spaceship. It's insane how good it is. But it's so quiet on the road. It's so smooth. You hit a bump and you hit a little bump. Okay. The camera angles when you're backing up, when you're parking and the camera looks forward and you can see everything. Absolutely fantastic car in so many ways. And the acceleration is not Model X Plaid level. Of course, Model X Plaid is 0 to 60 in like 2.6 seconds. And the Model Y I have is a launch edition, which means it comes with acceleration boost. So it's 4.4 seconds, 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 kilometers. It's fast. It's nuts. And that I didn't realize how much I'd appreciate the neon strip, the fiber optic strip or whatever that runs around. That looks pretty cool. My wife loves changing the colors. It's fantastic. So yeah, Brian points this out. Getting back to Milan leaving the company, one of Elon's greatest strengths is assembling unbelievable teams. I think this is his greatest strength. He sets a mission. We're going to do this crazy thing. Okay, we're going to get 1 million people to Mars. He's not just like, we're going to go to the moon, we're going to launch a rocket into space. Like, we're going to get 1 million people to Mars. And he gets people to buy into it, and he works his ass off for it, and they can see he's serious, and people follow him. We're going to transition the world to sustainable energy, and we're going to lay out this whole plan for it. We're going to make self-driving cars. He comes up with these great missions. We're going to make humanoid robots. Look, we've got this technology. Let's do this. And he finds great engineers who want to do great things, and he inspires them, and he motivates them, and they love it. So let's turn to the Elon Trump thing, because we've got a group of people now. So let's talk about Elon and Trump. Macaw says, I was so upset to see Elon bash Trump. I hope Elon is not having a mental breakdown. Are you new here? Like, how long have you been following Elon? Elon has always been mental. It's you aren't going to get insane performance. You aren't going to get insane growth. You aren't going to get insane accomplishments from normal people. Okay, Elon has never been normal. But I want to say this because I see so many people saying this. I was so upset to see Elon bash Trump. Why aren't you upset at Trump bashing Elon? Elon was critical. There's a bill called the One Big Beautiful Bill, which is a big pile of garbage, right? What is Elon concerned about? What were the All-In Pod guys concerned about? What was the big focus? Friedberg, Chamath, Sachs, everybody's concerned about the debt's getting too large. The interest payments are now the largest item in the federal budget is paying interest on the debt. If this keeps going, we're screwed. And Elon's focus, with Doge and everything else and in the campaign was, we've got to get spending under control. We've got to get the deficits under control. We've got to get the debt under control. And what did Congress do? A steaming pile of garbage. Spending, spending, spending. Republicans claim they're fiscally conservative. Where's the fiscal conservative? Why aren't you? And I love Stephen Miller, one of Trump's guys. He's like, oh, there's like lots of spending cuts in here. Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson, there's lots of spending cuts here. Look, here's spending cuts in the real world. This is how much we spent last year. This is how much we're spending next year. Spending goes down. In Washington, spending goes from here to here, and they say, oh, we cut because we didn't go this high. Increasing spending less is not a cut. We need to cut spending. And Elon lost it. And he was very focused, though, on criticizing Congress and criticizing the bill. And he was making positive comments about Trump along the way. And Trump snapped and attacked Elon. So, Macaw, why did you say you were upset to see Elon bash Trump and not say you were upset to see Trump bash Elon? And I see this from many people in the Tesla community who are following this, is that why is Elon picking on Trump? No. Elon was criticizing the bill legitimately because it's a stinking pile of garbage. Are there good things in the bill? Sure. But they need to cut spending. This is a high priority. The country is going to go bankrupt. And all those people worry, oh, what's going to happen to my Tesla stock because Elon's fighting with Trump? What's going to happen to your Tesla stock if the United States goes bankrupt? Do you think this is not a real problem? Do you think it's okay for federal spending's number one item to be paying interest on the debt? Do you see that might be a long-term problem? And then you're going to grow the debt from 37 trillion to 40 trillion to 45 trillion. And do you think this problem is going to magically get better? Oh, we're going to just grow out of it. There's no guarantee of that. There's no guarantee we're going to grow out of it. Mike Stoke asks, is the Elon-Trump feud staged between those two? Very unlikely that Elon would participate in anything like that. Is Trump creating conflict for the sake of creating conflict? And Megyn Kelly described a situation where she had an argument with Trump, and at the end, Trump made it clear he was just doing it to get clicks or whatever, entertain the public. So is it possible that Trump is doing this to game the system in some way? Sure. But Trump seems to, Cycle Gamer says, because Trump just seems to be defending himself while Elon was attacked. Well, you're not following what happened. Elon criticized the bill, and then Trump called Elon a liar. And then he doubled down and he accused Elon of lying, and he started saying other things about Elon. And then Elon shot back at Trump. So if you have taken this perspective that Elon is attacking Trump, it's like, why don't you hold Trump accountable for what he does? This is one of the criticisms. Like, look, and I'll be clear about this. I think Trump is the best president in my lifetime. Even with this current fight, Trump is the best president in my lifetime. And it was necessary to get Trump elected to stop Kamala from being president, because Biden was a train wreck and Kamala was worse. I'm not saying Trump is awful, Trump is terrible, blah, blah. But people who love Trump refuse to hold him accountable when he's wrong. You never think Trump is wrong. He's wrong. He shot at Elon. Elon criticized the bill. And this is the thing. Trump had a choice here. He delivered this steaming pile of garbage from Mike Johnson, from the Speaker of the House. And Trump could have said, no, this is bullshit. We need to cut spending. And he could have taken on Congress. He could have used his political power. He could have used the anger you have at Trump at Elon right now. And he could have gotten you to direct that anger at Mike Johnson and members of Congress to get a better bill that actually cuts spending. And he chose instead to protect Mike Johnson, to protect the big spenders in Congress. And he chose to attack Elon instead. And you're blaming Elon for that. Do I think Elon is going to create a third-party alternative? I think it's possible. I don't think it's possible to solve America's problems within either major party. The Democratic Party is a steaming pile of garbage. We're worse than the bill. The Democratic Party is totally there's no. I don't see any hope for the Democratic Party to ever do anything viable to make America better. They're so caught up. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. I think that what Elon did, this is one of the things, like, Doge went after the NGOs, right, that were funneling money into the Democratic Party. Well, if you don't eliminate that problem, then the Democrats are going to come back in the midterms, and they are going to come back in 2028. So it's bizarre that the Republican. Why aren't the Republicans doing something? Because the Republicans are in on it. The Republicans are in on the NGO game. Right? And they don't care if every other year, every other election, the other side wins. They don't actually care. That people like Mike Johnson, the vast majority of Congress, they don't care about the American people. They don't care about policy. They care about getting kickbacks. They care about the corruption. That's what they're really motivated by. If you think there's something else, there's a few people in Congress who are actually motivated to make the country better. And the vast majority of people in politics are lining their pockets. He didn't call him a pedo. He said he's in the files. He didn't call him a pedo. And to call the most powerful man on the planet, Elon is the most powerful man on the planet. Who has more ICBMs? Who has the ability to launch more rockets? Elon or Trump? The future of warfare is going to be drones. And this bill is building, airplanes and ships that are going to get clobbered by drones. We just saw it in Russia. We just saw it in Ukraine versus Russia, that Ukraine used a bunch of drones and demolished all this advanced hardware, because the advanced hardware isn't advanced anymore. So back to the third-party alternative. I think nobody has a better chance of doing it than Elon. And people talk about Ross Perot. Ross Perot centered the party around himself and made himself the candidate. Elon can't be the candidate for president, doesn't want to be the candidate for president. But I think the way I take it is this. 2024 was Elon politics 1.0. 2026, the midterms, if he decides to go, Elon might say, fuck it, I'm just going to build stuff, right? I'm just going to go run my companies and build stuff. I'm going to stay out of. I don't think so. I don't think that's Elon's nature. I think Elon sees the problem needs to be solved, and he's going to dig in and he's going to try to solve it. So 2026 midterms will be Elon politics 2.0. He's learned a lot from politics from Elon 1.0. He learned with Doge, he learned all the problems inside the federal government. They got access to the root files, whatever. They got all kinds of access to what's going on inside. And they figured out a lot about how politics works, and they figured out how to move things. And their PAC made a lot of accomplishments in getting Trump elected. They figured a lot out what works and what doesn't work. So 2026 is another experiment. Maybe they just primary Republicans. Maybe he just supports primaries against Republicans who are screwing things up. But I think there's too many of them, and I think a third party is a lot more viable. And then the challenge is, how do you build a third party without letting these deep state operatives in? Very, very hard. But Elon's really good at hiring. So I think he's really good at choosing people. Yeah, he figured out how government works. He figured out how political parties works. He's figuring out. Now, I think that 2026 will be moderately okay. It won't be spectacular. People are like, oh, well, he's going to screw up, and then Democrats are going to take control of Congress, and then Trump won't be able to accomplish his goals. If his goals include letting America collapse and go into bankruptcy, then I really don't care. Trump has had the opportunity. He had the opportunity in his hand. He had Elon's help. He had Doge's help. Here's how we cut spending. And he let Mike Johnson and Republicans in Congress. And, you saw Trump's corruption when he pardoned Trevor Milton. You saw Trump's corruption. What was the guy's name? Paul Walzak or something like that. You saw Trump's corruption. He got paid $1 million by Trevor Milton's family. Trevor Milton gets a pardon. Got paid $1 million by Paul Walzak's family. Paul Walzak gets a pardon. These are people who should not have been pardoned. They're not J6ers. I don't mind the J6 pardons. I don't really care about that one. But to take wealthy, guys, I think Trevor Milton walks away with like $1 billion, right? He paid $1 million for a pardon, walks away with like $1 billion. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. So, there are a lot of hints about Trump's corruption along the way. And why do you think he's not fighting to cut spending and save America? Because he's not really that guy that you want him to be. So now, where do I think this is going? Trump started making, and this is the thing, like Trump started making threats about, canceling Elon's contracts with the government. Like, what are you doing? And then Elon says, fine, we'll decommission Dragon. How are you going to get stuff to the space station? How are you going to get things done? How does America's Space Force work without SpaceX? How are you going to launch payloads? How are you going to do things in space if the launch company that's best qualified to do launches, you're not doing contracts with? So, Trump Starliner, exactly. And they're like, well, Trump could take over, SpaceX as a, national security interest. How long do you think SpaceX functions if the federal government, how many of the top engineers are out within 2 weeks, 2 months? A lot of the team's just going to leave. How much does the federal government have to pay the owners? Because, Elon's not the only owner. There's a bunch of shareholders. They have to be eminent domain. You'd have to pay. Well, what's SpaceX's market cap now? $350 billion? By the time you do the eminent domain proceeding, it's probably $500 billion. So Elon banks $250 billion. It's dumb. So Phil says it seems more like theater than ever. I don't think it's theater for Elon. I think Elon is serious. And I think Trump loves the distraction of having a fight. And he keeps going and doing what he's doing. And look, let's be clear. Trump is doing good things about immigration. If you think that we shouldn't have a whole bunch of criminals coming into our country, here I am in Thailand, by the way. But, if you think that America is not better off by having a whole bunch of criminals and terrorists coming to the country, then I think, Trump's doing good things there. I think that, the fight that Trump is having with the universities and Harvard and Columbia and so on, I think those are good fights. I think there's good things that are happening. Curious Sand says, Elon, you are not holding any cards. No, Elon has cards. How the hell are you going to launch payloads into space without Elon? We are like 1 year away from it becoming obvious that Neuralink cures paralysis and blindness. You don't want the company you don't want the guy who's curing out. And here, you want to know the cards? I'm going to say this, and I posted this on X, and probably not going to happen, but I genuinely believe this. If Elon wants to pursue the mission of developing truthful AI, of accelerating the transition to sustainable energy, and of going to Mars, the best country to do that in is China, not America. Because if he goes and he talks to the Chinese leadership, The Chinese will let him cook as long as he doesn't criticize the leadership of the country, which he's been in Shanghai for, I don't know, 5 years now. He hasn't said anything bad about the Chinese government. He knows the rules. And people are like, well, why did Elon get involved in politics? Politics came after Elon. The politicians have been attacking Elon for 5+ years. Republicans crapping on, even before that, Republicans were crapping on EVs. Then the Democrats started going nuts, and Lorena Gonzalez, some California state representative, wanted Elon arrested. Then Biden does the EV summit. Then Biden says that Elon's companies need to be looked into. Then they sue SpaceX for not hiring illegal aliens or asylum seekers who aren't eligible. And they're not. There's so much that's been happening that the politics have been attacking Elon and Tesla. The Bernie Sanders, the Elizabeth Warrens, the AOCs. But it's not just the fringe of the Democratic Party. It's, the center of the Democratic Party. They've been attacking him. Right, Victor. He understands the rules. He wouldn't mess with the Chinese as long as the Chinese let him cook, and they will. Why? Look, if Elon says, "Look, I want to get us to Mars," the Chinese would be like, "Awesome, let's do it. Hey, can we do the moon too?" And you're like, "Sure, yeah, we'll send you to the moon too." Elon would be happy. But the thing is, if you want to achieve all these goals, you need massive energy production, and you need government to get out of the way. And the Chinese are like, "Wait, you want to do cool stuff in our country? Cool, come on, let's do it. Bring whatever engineers you want." And there's an ample supply of engineers in China who would be thrilled. So Delaware courts. Yeah. What was I thinking of a joke that Trump appointed Judge McCormick, Kathleen McCormick, to be a federal judge over whatever court, that something about Elon's going on, like something like that. Robotaxi this week. It could be this coming week. I don't know. I think it's by the end of the month that we're going to see Robotaxi live. I'm not super optimistic that it'll be next week. I do think they've been talking about it a lot. I do think a lot of good things have been happening with it, but I think I think he will venture into the drone production somehow. So far, I think he's been saying no. It doesn't mean it won't happen. I could see him doing another startup for drones. I think that's a possibility. I could see maybe, I don't know. I mean, Tesla's got the real world AI that would be perfect to power drones. But it's not like Trump is gonna, as the military gonna enter into and this is the thing, like the military could say, "Hey, we want to do drones. Elon, can you help us with that?" Right? And they could figure out how they're going to do drones, and then Tesla could bid for the opportunity to do drones if Elon wanted to participate in that. I think Palantir would be more likely, or what's the guy's name? Palmer Luckey. His company is more likely to do drones. I don't think Elon needs to do drones. I think Palmer Luckey, his company's already doing drones. I can't remember the name of his company, but Palmer Luckey, look, he's the guy who craps on Jason all the time. Andrew, thank you, David. Yeah. Brian asks about Milan. I'll just briefly touch on that again for those who missed earlier in this video. Milan Kovacs, who was probably the head of the Optimus team, left, did a great post on X. Go on X and look him up. He did a great post about, what's going on, personal stuff with his family and somewhere overseas, probably in the Eastern Europe is my best guess. And he's going home to deal with things there. He didn't get specific, but, his family needs him. He put in over 9 years, I think, with Tesla. He did great work. They built a great team. And the media freaks out when, like anytime any executive leaves Tesla or any engineer leaves Tesla, "Oh, Tesla's in trouble now." Like, they have over 100,000 employees. You think one guy leaving is a problem? So everything will be fine. Ashok taking over as Loki. Well, I mean, I think Ashok was already effectively in charge. Ashok is the head of Tesla's AI. So I also think there was something. Elon said that Dojo 2 is close to ready and it will be very good. But probably I think what he's effectively saying is it won't be quite as good as what NVIDIA is doing. And then there'll be a third generation of Dojo, which is probably, I'm going to guess, 18 months from when Dojo 2 starts. And that third generation of Dojo will be lit. But you still need energy generation. So we don't know what Elon, and there's this mystery. Joe Tetmeyer, if you don't follow Joe Tetmeyer, he's the guy who drones Giga Texas all the time. A massive amount of electrical hardware is showing up at Giga Texas. Nobody knows what it's for. A lot of voltage transformers. So something's happening there. Drew Baglino, if you missed it, Drew Baglino has a new startup that is dealing with electrical infrastructure. Really excited about that. Drew Baglino fan club. Those who don't know, Drew Baglino was one of the top people at Tesla for years. Drones are not difficult to make. Ukrainians and Russians assemble them in small ships. Drones are not difficult to make. It's the AI in the drones that matters. And so Anduril has really good AI for their drones, and Tesla will have better real-world AI for their drones. And I'm sure that if Palmer Luckey calls Elon and says, hey, can we experiment with your real-world AI in our drones, and they have some sort of partnership, that could happen. I don't think Elon wants to build drones. I don't think he wants to build weapons at Tesla. He doesn't want to build weapons at SpaceX. Another megapack cluster. Yeah, but I don't think that's what the voltage transformers are for. I think there's too many of them. I don't think that's it. I know there's a theory that that's what it is. And they're going to need megapacks for the AI. I think they're probably building another AI data center in Texas, but I think it's more than that. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, so let's just recap. We have Robotaxi starting maybe this coming week, but probably by the end of the month, we're going to see Robotaxis operating in Austin. I thought I saw something about that we're close to having Robotaxis in California too. I think it was California that there was another one. I forget which city that somebody spotted would look like a Tesla Robotaxi. They're driving with no one in it in California. So you've got that. Then I don't think we're going to see the more affordable models yet. Like originally they were saying Q2, which is the end of June. But Lars, if you paid attention, Lars was on either Jay Leno or Monroe, and he said the more affordable models are coming this summer. So I would say by the end of August, we're going to see them. Do I think Robotaxi is live in Minnesota in 1 year? I'm going to say Minnesota is relatively unlikely because of the governor of the state being anti-Tesla and anti-Elon. I think that we will see Robotaxi in Texas and California before the end of this year. My guess is Nevada, Las Vegas will say yes quickly. I think Florida will say yes. I think you're probably going to see it in something like 10 or more states in 1 year. By the end of 2026, I think a lot of states will adopt Robotaxi. There's a question of, how many do you have and when do they start Cybercab production? And, do they just divert a lot of Model Ys into the fleet? I think we'll see how that goes. I think there will be holdout states, and I think Minnesota will be one of them because your governor hates Elon. New York will hold out. Michigan is very likely to hold out because it's the home of the big three. Massachusetts will probably hold out. The blue states are more likely to hold out. California being an exception because California, already has Robotaxis from other companies. They have Waymo and so on. So, and thank you, Elon fanboy, for your support. So, so the more affordable models, my guess is by the end of August, possibly this month, but by the end of the August. And somebody was telling me that there's a 6-seat Model Y coming, which I'm not sure what that means. They had a 7-seat Model Y before. So what I want to see, and for those who have followed me long enough, what I want to see is a larger Model Y. Like make it a foot longer, put in a legit third row, maybe make it a little wider. I don't know if it needs to be wider, but make it a foot longer so you can squeeze a legit third row in. I think the market for that in the US is pretty big, and I think you would be surprised to see how big the market is for that in Asia. It's a lot of 6-7 passenger minivan SUV types coming out of China, and it's an interesting use case, by the way, that I think a lot of people wouldn't anticipate. A friend of mine bought an Xpeng X9, or his mom bought an Xpeng X9, and I've been in a few of these vehicles. What they do is the second row seats are like super luxury seats, like massage and air and whatever. And the front seats, the driver's seat, are not special. Why? Because in Asia, rich people, in Thailand and China at least, rich people buy vehicles and hire a driver. So the owner is sitting in the second row, relaxing and chilling in the luxury seat. So if you're going to make a larger Model Y in China, you're going to build it so the second row has the luxury seats, not the first row. Now maybe you have two trims, right? You have, and because the BYD has one called the Denza D9, and I think it's MG Maxus 7 is one we drove. We drove the BYD Denza D9, which has those second row luxury seats, and we drove the Maxus 7, which is a cheaper, still a large van with 7 seats, but it's like low end in terms of interior quality. and it doesn't have the super fancy second row seats. If you have time, can you touch on your new Model Y and how it is to own one in Thailand? Karsten, thank you for the question. Charging, behaving in traffic, autopilot. Okay, so autopilot is pretty limited. There's no FSD. You can buy FSD, but it doesn't work. I believe there's enhanced autopilot, which I didn't bother buying. I may upgrade to FSD soon. I haven't decided, but there's no point in having FSD in Thailand right now. And autopilot is okay on the highway, but if there's any traffic at all, it doesn't do lane changes, so you're constantly disengaging. Other than that, it's fantastic. It is quiet. It is, and backstory. I talked about this earlier in the video, but backstory. I still technically own a Tesla Model X Plaid, 2022. Did 44,000 miles on it. That's a very, very nice SUV. The Model X the new Model Y is quieter. And the Model X Plaid is a very, very nice car, right? I paid $135,000 for that thing. Overpaid, but whatever. Air suspension and so on. But the Model Y is so much better built. The engineering of the Model Y is so much better. The Model X Plaid has insane acceleration. It's got 3 motors. It's got like 1,000 horsepower. It does 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. This Model Y has acceleration boost. That's 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. It's pretty damn fast. But it's so quiet. It's so comfortable on the roads. Now, the Model X Plaid has the air suspension. Okay, so, the Model X Plaid probably a little better ride, but not a lot better. It's about even. And then it looks like the funny thing is it just looks like a spaceship. You see people looking at it. Dogs. We've had dogs chase the car twice. We've had dogs chase the car because they just think it looks crazy. The front, you've got the light bar and then the headlights are actually down low. It just doesn't look like a normal car. And now we're not in Bangkok. Bangkok has a lot more of the newer generation of vehicles. We're in Krabi, which is like maybe 5-10 years behind Bangkok. But the drive down was great. Tesla supercharger network. We'll just touch on that. The Tesla supercharger network is nowhere near as comprehensive as it is in the United States, but it's enough. So we drove from Bangkok to Krabi. We passed by 3 superchargers. We stopped at all 3. We could have done just one stop and made it, but we just decided let's chill. I think we even made a couple more stops for, pee breaks or whatever. In Thailand, you're not going to average 70 miles an hour in Thailand, even on the highways. And we were driving mostly at night. And I guess there's some kind of trucks that aren't allowed to drive during the day. So the roads fell with these trucks and they're a little crazy, but crazy looking. So it was just like, you couldn't sustain more than 120, 130 kph, kilometers per hour for very long. And a lot of times you're going 100 kilometers per hour or less. It's just, and then, pressing the microphone and saying, take me home, and it maps out where you're going. Getting the navigation is so spectacular. Natalia says, I live in Northern Florida. Robotaxis will be great here. Many elderly people would love to use them. Yeah, the villages. I think anywhere in the country, people who are older are going to appreciate Robotaxi. The thing that you don't see is over time, the price of Robotaxi rides will fall. Initially, it's going to be, say, $2 a mile. And it's going to drop to $1.50 a mile as you get more and more of them, and it'll like wipes out Uber and Lyft, and then drops to $150 a mile, $1.50 a mile, drops to $1 a mile. You start getting people who have drunk driving records or bad credit, and their insurance rates are high and their loan interest rates are high, and they just say, screw it, I can save money by riding in a Robotaxi rather than. And if you have DUIs, like if you have a drinking problem, Robotaxis are great. And, like 10% of Americans have a DUI on their record. So there's a lot of people, and then there's how many people have bad credit, and the cost of owning a vehicle. I had a Honda. This is years ago. I had a Honda Accord that I paid $250 a month on. I had a client who had some 3-year-old used Isuzu piece of crap, and they were paying $500 a month on their loan because people who don't have good credit get screwed. So there's a lot of ways in which Robotaxi can make life better for a lot of people. And yeah, we have the Glacier Blue Model Y, which is on a color I don't think is available in the United States. It's fantastic. If you look me up on X, you'll see it. Do I think Tesla allows driver to sleep in car with FSD if you're not in Robotaxi state? It's a question of whether they allow unsupervised FSD, not whether they allow Robotaxi. So, and it's also a question of, is the federal government going to pass a set of rules, pass a law that gives some agency power to regulate Robotaxi and take the power away from the states? I was hopeful that was going to happen. I think it's not going to be a high priority for Trump at this point. The light bar is not quite bright. The light bar is daytime running lights. The light bar is not headlights. In New Jersey, the state ordered the removal of some Tesla superchargers. That was the story, yes. What happened in New Jersey is on the New Jersey Turnpike, they decided in like spectacular corruption to do a contract with an Irish company, Apple Green or something like that, to have them install supercharger, DC fast chargers with the CCS port. Not mandating them to have NACS, which is the Tesla style, which is now the standard that everyone's adopting across the United States and Canada and probably Mexico. So they're outfitting all these New Jersey Turnpike stops with chargers that won't work on all the new EVs. And they told Tesla they didn't agree to, like, they didn't say, hey, let's do both. They told Tesla to pull their superchargers out. And, does the mainstream media cover this corruption? No, of course not. Really wish the Robotaxi vehicle was better designed to support older and mobility challenged people. Well, I think that's Model Y. So for me, 6 feet tall, 220 pounds. I'm actually in very good physical shape, but it was a pain in the ass getting in my wife's Honda City. So much easier to get into a Model Y. I don't think it's hard to get into a Model Y, and they can use Model Ys for Robotaxis. So I'm not sure how difficult it's going to be to get in Cybercab. I think Trump is in defensive mode. He understands how much is done basically for free. I don't know what Trump understands. Brian McCormack says, Barry Glack, Tesla don't even have any working prototypes of Robotaxi or Optimus. Yeah, Barry Glack is a running comedy story. The guy doesn't own any Tesla stock, and he's telling people what he thinks about Tesla. David Kinghorn says, Secretary definitely wants self-driving cars at the federal level. He wants to go down as the first Secretary of Transportation that did something new since passenger jets. He may want it, but if Trump doesn't support it, it's not going to happen. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Governor Murphy, Victor. Agree 100%. Tesla needs to move to NEVI-compatible chargers. I don't even know what NEVI is. By Trump saying he's not thinking about Elon means he thinks about it a lot. 100%. Hi, B. Nice to see you. So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to talk about with Tesla, Trump, Elon. SpaceX. I think we have a Starship launch coming. They just had a static fire of the Starship booster. That's a good sign. We're probably going to see a Starship launch soon, and I think they're going to be ramping up to do more frequent Starship launches soon. Starlink continues to grow. They continue adding countries. I'm sitting here in Thailand. People talk about, say positive things about Thailand. I have a lot of positive things to say about Thailand, but how does Thailand not? I don't need it. I don't need Starlink. We have good internet, but how does Thailand not have Starlink yet? Philippines has had Starlink for like 2 years. There's all these countries getting Starlink. It's something like 140 countries now that have Starlink, and Thailand still hasn't said yes. It's ridiculous. They need to stop losing the Starship. It's a test flight. The Starships they're losing are not going to be in the fleet going forward. They are testing things out, and things work and things don't work. Starlink and the booster that they lost. They'd already planned not to land it. The booster that they lost was a reflight. They reflew the first booster of Starship. That's fantastic. And they did like this powered flip. They did there's a lot. People focus on these bad things happened or these good things didn't happen. A lot of good things happened with the Starship launch. Elon Fanboy asks, will I go to see a Starship launch? I already saw one. It was the one where they destroyed the pad and sent, sand, concrete dust, which is basically sand everywhere. And it was landed on my car, and my photo of my car that I posted on X or whatever, ended up being in the news. So I saw that one. That was, from Thailand, I'm not going to be seeing a Starship launch. I have thought about, and I don't think this is completely crazy, would we be able to see the Starship come down in the Indian Ocean? Could we book a ship or a plane or something like that and fly out to where we expect Starship to come down? And would that be batshit crazy insane to do? I think it's a really, really big stretch of ocean, and I'm not sure it's wise to do that, but I have thought about seeing the Starship reentry. I pray that Elon won't need to go to rehab. He may need some help. We need Elon to stay safe and be well. Look, I want to address this because I said this before. People are freaking out about Elon having some mental problem. Elon has always had mental problems. Did you read the biography? Elon has always been crazy, and he always will be crazy. And because he's crazy, he does great things. Normal people don't do great things. You have to be abnormal to do great things. Phil C says you're not a million miles away. Well, we are planning a trip to the U.S. hopefully in October. This depends on my wife getting a visa, a tourist visa. You would think it'd be straightforward for an American's wife to get a tourist visa. It's not. We're about 60-40, we think, in her getting approved for the visa. We'll see. We're going to find out in July. So about 1 month away, we'll know. And if she gets the visa, we are going to go to Starbase. Will we catch a launch when we go to Starbase? I have no idea. We will probably see a launch at Canaveral because there's so many. Will we be able to catch a launch at Starbase? I don't know. I'm not a million miles away, but it's hard to go to. It's a long trip from Thailand to America, baby. Nevi compatible means no app required. Swipe tap payment system screens to show the process. 150 kilowatt charging is a minimum. I don't know. I mean, no app required. Well, that's not what Tesla's going to do. You need the Tesla app to charge the Tesla supercharger. Hey, Mark Potocnik, thank you for joining. I mean, from the Starship landing spot. Oh, yeah. No, we're not a million miles. No, it's like it's possible. Like, I don't think I'd say it's likely. I don't want to say it's easy, but it might be doable. Will I be doing some Thailand content? I've been thinking about doing a series of Thailand videos. I'm thinking about the title, How to Thailand. I have a lot to say about this. I've gone through a lot. I've been through a lot. How to Bangkok, how to date. I could do a video about that, but talking about different parts of Thailand and my own, I'll just touch on this briefly. I would say this is about travel in general because we just did 17 days. Oh, no baby news. No. Not pregnant yet as far as we know. Every month is a, roll the dice. Not pregnant yet as far as we know. Not doing heroic measures, no artificial insemination or IVF yet. That probably will happen in a few months, but not doing that yet. Thank you for asking. So just one real quick thing, and this is more general than Thailand, is something I discovered that I really feel strongly about now about travel, is I think sightseeing is bogus. I think sightseeing is just not worth doing. Sightseeing, we went to Europe for 17 days. We did 5 days in Austria, 5 days in Italy, 3 days in Thessaloniki, Greece, and 2 nights in Istanbul. And now there's reasons why we did it that way, but I really believe the best way to travel is to identify a place you would consider living in. Not to say you're going to live there, but if you are picking a spot like this is a place I think I could live, and you go get an Airbnb for a week or two, longer if you can, but a minimum of 1 week in like a condo or an apartment, not a hotel. And you go to a supermarket and you buy some stuff and you make a few meals at home and you do ordinary things, and you go to a coffee shop or a co-working space and you do some work. And you see a couple of sites while you're there. I'm not saying you don't spend any days sightseeing, but if you're there for a week, you spend 2 days sightseeing and 5 days living, right? When we go to Japan now, I go to doctor's appointments. I make doctor's appointments because Japan has the best diagnostic equipment in the world. If you want an MRI, go to Japan. If you want a CAT scan, go to Japan. If you want an ultrasound, go to Japan. Like anything you want, you go to Japan. So the next trip we go to Japan, we're going to Osaka, and I'm going to get like 3 things done. And it's like $100 for each one. Am I going to do a Rivian follow-up? Oh, sorry. And just Karsten, the cost of living, like we're in a house right now. This is a 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool and some extra land. It is 6 minutes from we have this house. We have my wife's nieces live with us. My wife's mother and father live with us. The father has dementia and just sits on a couch all day, or on a bed or a couch all day. Her mother helps with the kids. Her nephew, the father of the nieces, just came down and he's helping out a lot. So we have like 7 people in this house. And I'm paying $1,500 a month for this house. We're in a 3-month lease. We're about to sign a lease on another house that is also 50,000 baht or $1,500 a month. That is walking distance to the school my nieces go to. I put my nieces in a Thai private school, which is like $2,500 a year a piece. Just chump change. The real focus was, and this is talking about Thailand. So Bangkok is fantastic. Bangkok is a great city. If you have no breathing problems, Bangkok is great. Anywhere around Bangkok is great. Pattaya, Hua Hin. I mean, Pattaya, you have to want what Pattaya is, but anywhere northern Thailand and, including Bangkok and a little bit south of Bangkok is great. if you are sensitive to air pollution, or in my opinion, if you have young children, I don't want them in air pollution. I'm not sensitive to air pollution. I was fine, but I don't like it, but I'm fine. So we moved to southern Thailand to get out of that, and my nieces were living basically, open air home with Bangkok street air, and now they're living in an air conditioned house with air purifiers and in a place that has good air anyway. And instead of going to a government school, which they're not very good, the older one was going to a government school, and she was getting sick a lot, probably because of the air pollution. Now they're going to school in a Thai private school and getting a much better quality education experience and everything. And the cost of living, like we had lunch the other day, a bowl of kwai tiao, which is like a noodle soup with pork in it. Pakapao, which is like it's pork and like some limited vegetables and rice, spicy. I think my wife had a Thai iced tea, a Thai tea without the milk, and I had a water. It was 145 baht, which is like less than $5. It's just crazy. So you can live really cheap. You can eat really cheap. I think we spent $20 on dinner tonight. We went to an Indian restaurant. So you can spend more, but it's easy to eat. And for two people, it was less than $5. Okay. If you're careful, you can get a Thai iced tea or an iced mocha or whatever for under $1. So there's a lot I could talk about. In Thailand, nature, yeah, there's a lot of great stuff here. Where we live now, Krabi has got a lot of nature. Bangkok is like one big concrete jungle. So 144S, are you going to do a Rivian follow-up? I would ask about Aptera, but they should be gone this year. What I found was when I made videos about Rivian and Lucid Motors and Aptera early, a lot of people watched them. And when I made videos about them more recently, no one watched. No one cares. The interest is down dramatically in those companies because they're all failing. Rivian maybe has a shot, but their spending is they spend more than the federal government. Mark says, frustrated with the U.S., Philippines sounds better. I haven't been to the Philippines. If you want to find a wife, I think the Philippines might be the best place in the world, especially if you want to bring her home. From what I hear, and I haven't been there, so forgive me for saying this, Philippines has a low quality of life. Thailand has a spectacular high quality. Japan has the best quality of life in the world, in my experience, and I've been in a lot of places. And Japan has a low cost of living, not much more than Thailand. Thailand has a very, very high quality of life and a very, very low cost of living. Utility costs, we had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo with 3 air conditioning units, and we were paying $60 a month. I think we're going to be paying $1,000 a month now. No, not $1,000 a month. $100 a month now. We'll see. Our electricity bill will be higher because we're charging the Tesla, but we don't put that many kilometers on it or miles on it. So how do you find the Japanese doctors, Yelp or Google? Do you book over the phone? I use a combination of AIs and Google Maps. And in some cases, I book over the phone. I speak Japanese, so that helps. I have friends in Japan who can help me if I need to, but I don't think I've needed that. And honestly, you just show up. If you're going to be there for a week, you show up on day 2 and you tell them you want an appointment and they schedule you for that day or day 3 or whatever. I think we went to an orthopedist in Sapporo or something, and like it took us that day. We both got x-rays. I got an ultrasound on my shoulder or whatever, everything's fine. Right. What is the main cause of air pollution in Thailand? Well, in Bangkok, it's a mix of, in the big city, you have something to do with the cars, but actually the biggest air pollution problem is all of Southeast Asia, or much of Southeast Asia is under a cloud of agricultural burns from December to March or April. And that's the dry season. So the rain doesn't take the air pollution down. They burn all year round, but when it's raining, the rain takes the air pollution down. When it stops raining, when it's dry, the air pollution just sits there. And it was pretty bad this year. Trump can really hurt Tesla business. I don't know why Elon would fight him. Yes, I know he worries, but he should realize what it's doing to the stock price. No. Why does everybody who say that not blame Trump? Elon criticized the bill. Legitimately, they're spending too much money. Trump, he didn't criticize Trump by name. He criticized Congress. He criticized the bill. And then Trump called Elon a liar. And Elon shot back. Why aren't you criticizing Trump for attacking Elon? Why is it always criticizing Elon for criticizing Trump? Trump started calling Elon a liar, said a lot of nasty things about Elon. Elon fired back. Bowl of rice and chicken leg, $1 at Chicken King. I don't know. Where's that? I don't know where Chicken King is. What can I get? I think I can get a bowl of like some sort of chicken rice dish at KFC in Thailand for, I don't know, a couple bucks. United Arab Emirates is fabulous, but the summers are brutal. I think the cost of living in like United Arab Emirates and Dubai is very high. So they may be very nice quality of life, but they're very expensive. No Medicare overseas. The cost of like, what are your copays on Medicare? I mean, I went to physical therapy in the United States with health insurance, and my copay was $85. I got a VO2 max test in Bangkok. I do all kinds of stupid things where I go to this Bangkok hospital, which is a premium hospital, and I paid $80. I had a cardiology consult before the test. I had the test with a tech spending like half an hour with me, and they had a cardiology consult after. It cost me $80 cash. And then my copay in America on a physical therapy visit was $85. If you got no copay is okay, but $100 for an MRI in Japan. I had a brain MRI for $100 cash. Like, what's your copay on an MRI? Any stock trades, updates, or ideas? Stock is up, stock is down. I don't know what the stock is doing today. It's Saturday, right? So the stock's not doing anything today. I think Tesla bounced back to 300 or something like that. Look, my portfolio, just be clear, my portfolio is basically I'm all in Tesla. The one thing I did different fairly recently is I decided to put about 5 to 10% of my portfolio, and this changes depending on what the stock price is, because into long call options. Almost all my options are now January 2027 strike prices from like $600 to $900 and maybe $860 or something like that. And when the stock goes up, when the stock goes up 5%, those go up like 20%. And when the stock falls 5%, they fall 20%. So, like both Japan and the United and Thailand, you want to get, I think if you're a private pay person and you go to the right hospitals, then you get seen within a day for most of the things that you want. And disclosure, by the way, I did sell 80 shares of Tesla the other day at $338. This is because I sold back in March or April. In order to buy my Model Y, I had to pay like 6 weeks in advance, and I sold something like 350 shares or something like 375 shares. These are in an IRA that I can draw on. And I need to draw on this particular IRA. So I sold some stock in order to buy the Model Y, and I sell extra so I can pay taxes and have a little bit extra cash for whatever I might need. This time we are about to sign a lease on a new house, and I got to pay like 4 months up front. It's, $1,500 a month. So I needed some cash. So I sold 80 shares, and this will cover me for a while on personal expenses in Thailand. And it so happens I sold at 330, and I have a friend who's like, "Oh, it's amazing! You sold at 338. The stock fell to 280. You made $50 or whatever." I'm like, "No, I didn't want to sell. I had to sell because I needed the money, and I'm not happy the stock price is down. That's crazy. No sense to die with money. Yeah, and look, in what am I? I'm almost 60, so in 7.5 years, something like that. 7.5 years, something like that, I'll start collecting Social Security at age 67, and I'll get something like $3,000 a month or $2,500 a month or something like that, which doesn't sound like a lot of money to you guys, but in Thailand, that's a lot of money. So I just got to make it 7 years, and I got enough I can make it 7 years. No, so Jim, that was dumb luck timing, but when I sold for the Model Y, it was 240. I sell when I have to sell. Hey, Mark, thanks for joining. Yeah, we've been going for a while. I don't worry about selling. I don't time my sales for what the stock price is. I sold at 338. If I had waited a little longer, it would have been 300 or something like that. I just happened to catch it at the right moment, or 280, right? It was the morning. I sold in the morning, first thing. Don't be Barry Glack. How would I be Barry Glack? Barry comes up with the Tesla doesn't have prototypes of Robotaxi and Optimus. Like, are you kidding? I mean, it's insane. The guy's nuts. So, yeah, let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to say about having a Tesla in Thailand? Um, I feel like people are excited. I think there's a ton of people are excited about new Model Y. Um, I'm hopeful that we're going to see some excitement over new affordable models. I'm hopeful there's more stuff coming. Was there a message a half hour in advance? YouTube is not giving me any recently, so I'm late to chats. Um, I don't know. I posted the video 15 minutes before I went live, and I don't know what happened with messages. Yes, Barry sold all this. How many kids will you have in 7 years? My dream is to have like 3 or 4. If I get one, I'll be happy. I'll be happy anyway, but if I just get one, that'd be great. I think that we got a decent shot of having at least 2, 3, or 4 kids. We'll see how it goes. I think my wife is willing, and we'll see how her health holds up when we have the first one. If we have the first one, she's not pregnant yet that we know of. We're in that window where we don't know. We'll know in a couple weeks, and I'm not going to report to you if she does become pregnant. I'm not going to report it publicly until a couple months after. So I think for now, my future answer will be, as far as we know, she's not pregnant yet that I can say. And that doesn't mean she's actually pregnant. My wife is 37 years old. She was 35 when we met. I'm 59. I just hope for Robotaxi, the press is not allowed to ignore how many accidents Waymo has when Robotaxi has its first. Quick Google searches showed Waymo had over 400? Really? I didn't know Waymo had that many accidents. Yeah, look, we know that ahead of time. There will be some kind of accident involving Robotaxi, and most likely, like I remember when I was a car accident lawyer, and I had this case. I was working for Allstate, and some kid on a bike rode into the side of my client's car, and they sued. I'm like, you rode into the side of the car. What did my client do wrong? He's driving down the road, right? And this kid rides off the sidewalk and smack into his car. Like, did you want him to go slower and then hit the kid? Did you want him to drive faster? And I don't understand. Do I predict 0 interventions at launch? I think that we will see. Well, first of all, there's going to be teleoperators, so we're not going to know when there's an intervention. Yeah, whatever happens, something will happen, and there'll be some idiot who will rear end a Robotaxi, and they'll blame the Tesla for that, and there'll be some idiot who puts a cone on the car and jumps in front of the car, and the car will mostly avoid him and slow down, and there'll be a minor collision, and they'll say the Tesla screwed that up too. There are drugs that release more eggs to help pregnancy, but you risk having twins or triplets. I have been researching that, Jim, and we may I'm going to say probably not until the end of this year. We might go to a fertility clinic to look into that. We've been tested. We're fine. It's just the probability of getting pregnant when you're 37 when a woman is 37 is low in a given month. And I'll tell you the nerd math that the probability of her getting pregnant in a given month is low. The probability of getting pregnant in 3 years is high, like over 90%, like 96%. So I just have to keep doing the hard work. We just have to keep doing the hard work every month. It's tough, but we do it. Yeah, the cars will save the video, and look, whatever happens, there'll be video showing that some jackass did something stupid, and they'll blame the car, and that the mainstream media will take whatever clips they can, take them out of context, and make it look like the car did something wrong. It's awful. It's very hard. There may be drugs involved in that. Every Robotaxi has dash cam. Every Robotaxi, it's amazing. Like I've got the feature now in the car. Like I haven't had Sentry mode in 2 years. I've been in Thailand. Now I've got Sentry mode again. Sentry mode's cool. Car's plugged in. Car's charging off the wall. 4.5 baht per kilowatt hour or something like that. It's something like 12 cents a kilowatt hour or something, which is comparable to the U.S., comparable to Florida or Texas. I think cheaper than California. Are your daughters still in Boca? Do they come visit you? One daughter is in New York City. The other daughter is in a university in Florida. The older one visited over winter break. The younger one was supposed to visit, but there were family issues and she had to stay in America. So I am hoping to see them both in October, and then I'm hoping that the following year they will come. I think the theory about let's meet in Japan or let's meet in Europe, a lot of things are possible. And my ex-wife doesn't live in Boca anymore, but she lives nearby. And I think my youngest is with her right now, working a summer job while school is out. So happily, as far as I can tell. And we FaceTime or whatever, some kind of video call once in a while. No income overseas. So I'll just touch on that really quick. I'm not sure what you meant, but I earn money from these YouTube videos. I earn money from X. It's not a lot of money, um, but it's enough. It's something. Um, and then I earn money by drawing from my IRAs. When I bring money to Thailand, in theory, I may have to pay taxes on that. There is a visa that I'm probably going to switch to called an LTR visa that exempts me from paying tax on income I bring in from America. So I'm probably going to switch to the LTR. I'm on what's called a DTV or Destination Thailand visa right now. That was easy and cheap, and I fit into that strategy. But I could do a spouse visa, I could do a retirement visa, a lot of options. And I will just touch on that because somebody asked before about travel. I'll have to do some fasted cardio. Great, Brian. I had killer cardio yesterday. I did it's 160 watts for 20 minutes straight. What I call high intensity continuous training, and then I did an interval workout at the beginning of the week. It's called Rehit. So cranking the cardio, cranking the strength training, doing well, everything's good. And I weighed myself this morning. It was the lowest weight in a long time, 99.4 kilograms. Wouldn't it be simpler to visit the U.S. with your wife? Is fun being so my wife doesn't automatically get a tourist visa to America. We're in the process of applying for her to get a tourist visa in the United States. We have an interview scheduled at the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok in July, and 60-40, they say yes. It's just the way it is. J.B. Pritzker gave Rivian $50 million to expand their factory last year. Now he wants to tax $1.50 for every item shipped out because Illinois is in a very bad financial situation. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff in U.S. politics, and $50 million isn't that much money for Rivian. I don't know. All right, I've been going for over an hour. I think I've covered a lot. I hope this has been helpful. Greek here. How come you went to Thessaloniki but not Athens and or the islands? So I didn't want to go to Athens because generally I try to avoid the bigger cities. I've heard that Athens is kind of has more crime, has more hassles, whatever. We were only going for 3 days. I thought it would be cool to go somewhere else. So we went to Thessaloniki and we only had 3 days in Greece. Easier to fly to Athens than anywhere else, but not difficult to fly to Thessaloniki from, I think it was Bologna. And we stopped in, I don't know, Serbia on the way or something like that. And then we went from Thessaloniki to Istanbul. I thought it would be interesting to see a smaller city, and maybe Thessaloniki would be less touristy and more authentically Greek than Athens. That was the theory. Honestly, we really enjoyed. That was one of the best parts of the trip was Thessaloniki. That was one of my favorite things. I didn't like Italy that much. We loved Austria. Somebody let us borrow a Tesla Model S, so Austria was great. Italy was not that great, in my opinion. At least our experience there wasn't that great. Thessaloniki is pretty nice. Better than Istanbul for sure. There are travel and U.S. warnings in many countries. Sure. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you to Mark, and Jim for moderating the chat. I don't have a set schedule for live streaming. I'm going to try to do it once a week now. I'm getting a little more settled, so I'm going to try to do it once a week. And there's just, there's so much chaos going on today or the past day with Trump and Elon that I just figured I would dive in and talk about that a little bit. I'll just say, of course, I'm on Team Elon. I think let's close with this. Trump failed the American people by not fighting with Congress to get spending cut. Trump could have used his political capital, his political power to fight with Congress, and instead he chose to fight with Elon. I think that was a wrong decision. Thanks everybody so much. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.